Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 23rd RiverRun International Film Festival. I'm Rob Davis, Festival Director, and it's a pleasure to have all our viewers with us for what promises to be a very special interview. The highest honor we bestow at RiverRun is our Master of Cinema Award, which is presented to an individual who has achieved significant accomplishments in their film career. This year, we are deeply honored and especially proud to be able to present this award to Lee Grant. Ms. Grant not only has an accomplished record and a remarkable record in motion picture acting, she also forged a very successful and distinguished career as a director of both narrative and documentary features. She is the recipient of 2 Academy Awards, and fittingly, one is for her acting and one is for her directing of the documentary Down and Out in America. She also is the first woman to have received an award from the Directors Guild of America. She has 2 Emmy Awards for her television work and the Obie Award for her stage work. Her book, I Said Yes to Everything, was critically acclaimed upon its publication and is a fascinating chronicle of what is truly an inspiring and incredible life and career. Interviewing Ms. Grant today is a good friend of the RiverRun Film Festival, Foster Hirsch. Foster is a member of our National Advisory Board and professor of film at Brooklyn College. He is the author of 16 and soon to be 17 books on film and theater, and he produces and hosts programs for some of the most prestigious film organizations around the world. So please join me in welcoming to the 23rd RiverRun International Film Festival, our Master of Cinema honoree, Lee Grant, and Foster Hirsch. Foster?
Welcome. It is such an honor to have this conversation with the great Lee Grant. We're going to start out by talking about the extraordinary documentary you've just seen, Down and Out in America. It is, unfortunately, still very timely. But Lee, I'd like to ask as a start here, what was your inspiration for choosing this particular subject at the time that you chose it, which was mid-1980s?
You know, growing up in New York, you'd see beggars on the street, and they had their pencils, they had their dark glasses because they were blind. There was not a family on the street. There were not young people on the streets, and it was something that became an immediate passion with me. It was the thing I wanted to do most while it was happening, to stop it. And what I have to tell you, Foster, is I just saw it again. You know, I thought, you know, should I take that dive and go into it, because it's very emotional for me.
Yes.
I thought, I'm going to be talking about it. Everybody's going to see it. And the same kind of, how could they let this happen? How could people be ignored in their need, washed over me?
So the film doesn't seem dated to you. It has a contemporary relevance.
It's exactly what's happening and what's being washed over. And what do you do? What do you do? But, you know, those were the Reagan years. Those were supposedly, you know, that cheery, happy movie actor with a cute, you know, side smile.
When we asked you which of your films you wanted to see to celebrate your winning this award, this is the film that you chose out of your long career, started in 1951. This was the film you wanted to represent you and that you wanted people to see and to think about. And I can see why. In your great book, I Said Yes to Everything, you indict Ronald Reagan in the book. I don't think you mentioned his name in the film.
Oh, no. It wasn't appropriate, because first of all, being homeless is now an enduring condition which has gotten worse and worse and worse under Democratic presidents, under Republican presidents, I mean, the slide, whatever started that slide, and of course, with us, it started, you know, with the farmers and the people in New York City, and then I went to that place in California. Whatever started that slide, nobody can stop it now. I mean, you know, maybe, you know, I think of Biden as the family doctor. You know, he's a decent, upright guy who wants to do good, who wants to help. But I don't know where you start in this great country that's filled with states that are little countries of their own. You know what I mean?
Yes. In many ways, I think the film, the 1980s film, evokes the Great Depression. And watching the film, I was reminded of James Agee, Now Let Us Praise Famous Men, and Walker Evans and the photographs of the dispossession of the 1930s. Your 1980s has much the feel of that documentary. How did you choose your subjects? You go from Minnesota farmers to Justiceville in Los Angeles to the couple living in the Martinique Hotel in New York. Basically, those are the three major focal points of the film. How did you choose those places and those people who represented those conditions?
Well, I have great producers who are most my best girlfriends, Mary Beth Yarrow and Prue, and you know, all of my producers were my good, respected girlfriends. And my main producer, of course, was my husband, Joe Fury, who set up all of the films that I did. He was the go-getter, and I was the hunter, you know. So they were responsible for setting it up and for casting. You know, they went through all of America to find the great people that I would talk to from all different parts of the country. I think also one of the feelings I had watching it today was the desperation to talk, the desperation to tell somebody who they were and what their life was and how bizarre it was now, like the last couple to be burned out of their house and be in a hotel where the bathroom doesn't work and they have 4 kids. And with the farmers, they went back generations on their farms. And for those banks, which originally were set up as farmers' banks, to turn them away and to take their farms and take their properties, it was an experience that you can't help go through with them because it's your life too. I mean, you're set up as somebody who can be gunned down, which I was, of course, during the blacklist, so that my sense of other people's deprivations was certainly heightened when I wasn't allowed to work. You know,
I was wondering if, to what extent you brought your own personal experience as the interviewer, and you've just answered it. A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. These people that you do speak to are extraordinary. They seem to let go of the presence of the camera and simply reveal themselves. Each one of them, and they're all very camera ready. Whoever quotes cast brilliantly. I have to say the third one, the husband living in the Martinique Hotel, could have been a movie actor. He has extraordinary presence.
Well, you know, but here we are, and they're not alive anymore.
They're not.
No. they're not alive anymore. And and so, you know, what you see are two people drowning and trying to say, give me your hand to get me out of this water. And the only hand that you can give them is to show that they are drowning.
Now, I think very important to the impact of the film is the work of your photographer, Tom Hurwitz.
Tom Hurwitz is not only
Remark-
a great
Remarkable.
cinematographer, but he also makes great documentaries too.
And you go to places where actually the cameras were not supposed to be.
Yeah, and that was Tom. That was Tom. You know, he is a cameraman, and he would like slide off from the group and go and come back with some of the things that we have in there where you're not allowed to. I don't know whether we still have. I don't remember seeing these clusters of people on the subway tracks who were making their homes on the subway tracks. I don't remember whether we got to use that or not. I don't think we did. But I mean, Tom is a seeker.
Did you decide going in that you would not be on camera? We would hear your voice, and your voice makes an enormous impact in the film. We don't see you except teasingly from
Yeah.
the back of the head when
Yeah.
you have the interaction with
Yeah.
the police officer, and I love that exchange.
I do too.
That's so multi-level. But was it a conscious decision that Lee Grant would not be an
Absolutely.
on-camera presence?
Oh, absolutely. And I never was in any of the documentaries. I wasn't, except for, you know, some getting in the way of the camera a couple of times.
But you didn't want to lend your
wasn't-
celebrity to be an on-person character in any of these films. Would that have taken away from the subjects of the films?
Well, absolutely. It wasn't the purpose. The purpose was for me to hold a mirror up. And if I was in it, all the attention would go to, oh, you know, does she feel bad about it? Does she feel good about it? You know, that's not the, the, the role of the director. The director is to hold up the light and say, see what's going on. See this, see that. What do you want to do about it? How do you feel about it? You know, I've been an actor long enough to know that if a camera is on you, that's where the focus goes. And I was entering a world in which I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't want to think about what I looked like. I didn't want to think about what a person is going to think of me. I wanted to be out of that arena and hold up the light. Look here.
And all your subjects are very carefully chosen. The first documentary, Wilmar 8, is about women in the workplace. You have a series of films about battered women. You have films about, way ahead of the game, transsexuals and transvestites. What sex am I? So you chose the subject matter.
Absolutely.
And the subject matter always was about social justice, which is a very good segue to going back to the beginning, where, as you say in your book, 12 years was more or less taken out of your career because you were blacklisted.
Yeah.
But as you describe it in the book, when you were blacklisted in 1951, you were not particularly a political person.
I was not a political person at all.
That's ironic then that you would have been blacklisted.
Well, it is. It is. It was a romantic attachment to a playwright whose play I went into after Detective Story and after being nominated for an Academy Award and after receiving the Cannes Film Festival Award for Best Actress in the World. And at 23, I can promise you, I didn't know what the Cannes Film Festival even was, you know. But I had a relationship with uh, this writer, Arnold Manoff, and who was a communist writer, as were his many friends who were extraordinary people. They were the most interesting people I'd ever met in my life. And 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 he was so brilliant and so smart. And I had a high school education. You know, I'd gone right into the neighborhood playhouse as an actor, and and that time, those 12 years of my being with Arnie and having baby Dinah Manoff, who is a great actress and has also written a book. Um, those years were my college years. And I really learned from being cut out of being an actress. I was teaching, I was raising his children and my daughter, and I was having a totally different life than the one that I was prepared for.
But isn't it ironic?
I did theater, you know.
Yes,
Theater,
no, I know.
Never
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. But isn't it ironic that you were blacklisted when you yourself were not a communist, you were not particularly political, you were married to a communist, and they wanted you to testify against him?
Well, you know, when you say that, Foster,
Yes.
the emotion is still fresh. My rage at being asked, even after 11 years of not working in films or television, of being called up to the committee to go to Washington again and being asked to name him as the price for working again. Makes me so angry.
To this moment.
It makes me so angry. And the ability to hold up the mirror of what's happening to other people who are not in my position, but who are hopeless. And I was certainly, I mean, who knew when the blacklist would end? It started when I was 22, it ended when I was 36. You know, I was 36 when I was discovered again, you know, for Peyton Place.
And the blacklist lasted longer for you than for a number of other people.
Yeah.
You were blacklisted longer. I mean, one could have a very paranoid reaction to what happened to you. You seem specially marked in some way.
Yeah. It was like, oh, she'll give in. Oh, she's, you know, oh, she's a kid. You know, she'll give in. And what it did was make me stronger. And I worked very hard politically to get the blacklisters off the AFTRA. But all the AFTRA heads were blacklisters to get other people to run to replace them so that AFTRA, the television union, was not killing its own.
Would it be fair to say that the blacklist, being blacklisted, turned you into a political activist?
Absolutely.
And led to your great documentaries laid in the act 2 of your career?
Absolutely. I mean, it gave me the base for everything. For everything.
I want to go back to the beginning. As you know, we've talked before, I absolutely fell in love with the shoplifter in Detective Story. That performance, folks, you have to see Lee Grant in Detective Story. That performance is a miracle. It is endlessly fascinating and charming and unexpected. And it was your first big work. I mean, you hit the jackpot right off the top. You auditioned, you were perfect for that part, and you played it better than anybody else in the world could have played it. I love that character. I'm absolutely in love with her, but I'm disappointed when we last spoke that you didn't find a name for her because she's just called Shoplifter. And you're a method actress. I would have expected you to write a biography of that character. And let's give her a name.
What about Mildred?
Okay, she's Mildred. What?
I think Mildred is good. I
That's
think
a good
Mildred,
name for her. What
yes.
was it about that character and you that obviously there was such a connection?
Well, I was at the neighborhood playhouse, and one of the speech assignments in speech class was to go out into the city and to listen to other people's voices, intonations, and bring it back into class. And so find a new character through speech. And so I was on the bus, and behind me, in the seat behind me, were two girls who were talking like this to each other. And I wanted to go out with them, but I didn't know whether I should go. What do you think? You think Seymour is the right person to go with, or Harold? I don't know. Oh, look over there. Look over there. There's somebody in the park. I mean, so these girls were talking their hearts out in a new dialect that I hadn't heard before. And so I brought it into class. And I was approved, they thought it was a good character study. And then when I went up for detective story, they wanted me for the ingenue lead. They didn't want me for the shoplifter. Sidney Kingsley wanted me to read for the ingenue. And the line that I had to say as the ingenue, when they ask about the color of my boyfriend's eyes, my boyfriend says to the policeman, brown. And the ingenue says, no, they're brown and green, flecked with gold. I started to laugh. and Sidney had me read it again and again, and every time I had to say it, I had to laugh. So I said, can I play the part of the old lady? I thought the shoplifter was an old lady. And I read for it and got it. I used those bus characters that I brought into the playhouse and got the job.
When you did the movie, William Wyler was a master. Surely he was one of the great directors you've worked with. I hope you're going to say so. I'm a big fan of his. William Wyler. Great director.
Great director.
Great director.
And he was a great friend later on, too.
Really?
Yes.
He places you on screen throughout, off to the side, in deep focus, which he loved. And watching that film, my eye goes to you. What's she doing now? How's she reacting? You don't have dialogue. You're in the background, but we see you reacting. It is wonderful. You get an Academy Award nomination.
Yeah, it's called stealing the scene.
Well, but you do it very skillfully, very subtly. You get an Academy Award nomination. The French say you're the best actress in the world at the Cannes Film Festival. You get blacklisted. But two filmmakers hire you in the 50s, and they really need to be pointed out and celebrated. Cornell Wilde, an actor, an independent filmmaker, hires you in 1955 for a film called Storm Fear. That must have taken some courage in that period.
Not only that, he gave me credit. He gave, it's the film starring his wife, who he wanted to make a star out of. And he gave me like a screen to myself. And he knew that I was blacklisted. So it put him in harm's way in every way. And it was the most decent thing that, that he could have done. And it was very early on.
Very early on.
And it gave me Dinah. because from that movie, we went to Hollywood, my husband and I, and they paid me enough so that we could have, enough money to have a child, because he didn't know when he would get, assigned a script. So that's where my Dinah came from, Storm Fear.
Storm Fear. And then later in the decade, Delbert Mann gives you a small but very effective role in Middle of the Night as the best friend of Kim Novak.
Mhm.
And you would think Lee Grant and Kim Novak, not a likely combination, but it works. The friendship seems real. And you were saying before, Lee, that it's Kim's finest moment as an actress.
Absolutely. She really kind of opened my eyes at that point, because I really had thought of her as, just simply a gorgeous girl, because that's how they showed her. But she was a gorgeous girl in trouble and so needy of love, and also Frederick March in that film, being so in love with her and being over the hill, himself. That whole romance, that last gasp of need of an over the hill guy in the garment industry for this shy, and she was so shy, for this shy, beautiful, naive child. Uh, it was just an extraordinary piece of work and beautifully directed and done.
You go back into the big time with Peyton Place, big TV hit, amazing. You do some TV and some independent films, but Peyton Place is the big time. And then for about from 1965 till the end of the 70s, you are a Hollywood insider. You're in a lot of big movies, big budget movies, well paid. You live in the Malibu colony. Uh, you are a blacklistee who survived probably with greater success and prominence than any other. I mean, you are a survivor.
Well, not only that, but I was also probably the youngest person to be blacklisted. Everybody who was in Arnie's circle were people who were so established in Hollywood, both the actors and the writers and the directors. They were established. And I had just made my first, stage appearance in my first film. So there was a lot of years between us.
But being younger, you had a chance in the Hollywood system to have that time in the limelight.
Oh yeah.
You were
No,
young enough to
oh,
become a movie star for those periods.
oh, look, Norman Jewison, Hal Ashby, all of those directors, Coppola, all of them were such liberal artists. Think about the investigations they did in film during those, 12 years that I was there. Uh, and so, and they knew certainly about my past. And so they were stumbling over each other to use me. It was, let me give her a job. No, let me. So it was like, how do we make up for the bad times? And of course, I was voracious. I was gobbling up all the work and the acting, and the Peyton Place was 3 times a week. And, I, starving actress, I couldn't work enough. It was so exciting because it was our decade. The decade I was there was our decade. I mean, the best films were being done, the most original actors and directors and writers.
It's
So,
called the New Hollywood. That period has a name, the New Hollywood. Late 60s, just the period when you were there being part of the in group of Hollywood filmmakers.
how lucky, how unlucky and how lucky. You know, Candide, where this little person just bounces down the mountain. I'm like, where am I going to end up? Well, here I am. How did I end up here?
But during that 10-year period, when you were living in Malibu and getting very good salary, the films are of two kinds. Let's be honest. There's some terrific movies, and you get 3 Oscar nominations and win an Oscar for Shampoo. As we've talked about, I love The Voyage of the Dam, probably the best of them. That's a great scene you have. And I know why you were nominated. But during that period, you made Valley of the Dolls, The Swarm, Airport 77, and Damien, The Omen Part 2, not timeless works of cinema art.
And you're asking me what? Am I an actor? Can I be bought? Can I be bought? You bet your life. No, I'm the money earner, and I had to work all the time. Airport 77, yeah, give it to me. Damien, whoa.
Did you make judgments about the material, or did
Not
you
at all.
approach it, I'm an actress, I'm going to play this part the best that I can?
Well, yes, I think there was always that. But I'm an actor in a working town, and I can't get in the heat of the night every time. I can't get it. I can't get a Voyage of the Dam. A smart actor knows that you have. I'm not going to wait at home and be offered films for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and say, oh, not for me, dear, not for me. Are you kidding? I will take, come on, baby. I've been out of work too long to pass anything by. If I get paid, then so does the rent. And I certainly learned a lot about that in the 12 years when I wasn't given work. So there's a very practical side to everything. You have to make money.
Time is gone. We do have to end. But I wanted my last question, a segue between Lee Grant as an actor, actress. Actor is the preferred word now. Act 1, and then Lee Grant as a director in Act 2. Are they two very different skill sets that you needed in order to migrate from one part of your career to the next?
Absolutely, totally. I mean, it's like when you said, why are you not in your documentaries? Because you are out of the frame. You are out of camera sight, and you are encouraging other talents to teach you what they know, to go to places that they haven't been before, to find things within themselves, passions, fear, misery within themselves that they haven't tapped before. And that's a very exciting place to be. And I made many of my documentaries into films for television, including Down and Out in America, so that I was able to take that small audience that documentaries have and bring it to a television audience so that a large audience would relate to what's happening to people.
When you went from acting to directing, did you consciously leave acting behind? You've done work, but acting hasn't been your principal focus since you.
I fell out of love. I never thought it could happen. I never, ever thought it could happen. Once I did that little film for American Film Institute, when I was part of a women's directing workshop.
Stronger?
The Stronger.
Stronger.
I did The Stronger at AFI as a little, it was the first women's directing workshop. I just went crazy with it. First of all, I had Susan Strasberg and Dolores Dorn. They were the two women who were antagonists to each other. And I had only seen this play at the Actors Studio with two actresses sitting at a table at a restaurant together, and they say these words. Well, I was at the American Film Institute, which was a castle. A castle. And so I made it a restaurant with hundreds of extras there and children going up and asking for autographs of this great actress, and a horse-drawn carriage bringing her to the restaurant, and a little chorus of children singing Christmas carols when she stepped down. And it was Susan Strasberg, and Clyde Ventura went up the stairs, maitre d', to meet her. And she made her way down the stairway. And I had a little string quartet playing Bach down the stairway. And there was Dolores Dorn sitting on the chaise lounge, waiting for her victim to enter into her sphere. It was a miracle. It was a miracle. And so, and I got my first job from it. And the movie that I did.
Tell me a riddle.
Tell me a riddle.
Tell me a riddle.
Those girls in San Francisco saw that 20-minute thing and asked me to direct Tell Me a Riddle. So it was such an amazing launching pad for me, who had only acted and never been interested. Directing was so boring. You sat there and encouraged them. It was a total turn on.
And it obviously worked because you were an enormously successful director, employed a lot. You had a long career as a director. And I think we have to end now, but you won 2 Oscars.
One, don't go.
One for acting and one for directing. You're the only one who's won an acting Oscar and a directing Oscar, which is amazing, which is a good, just you.
No.
You're the only one. I don't think there's been another one. And somebody's going to correct me, but that's a good segue to Rob Davis, the director of the RiverRun Festival, who is going to present you with a richly earned Master of Cinema Award. Rob?
Thank you, Foster. And thank you to you both for doing this incredible interview, which has been so engaging, it's been entertaining, and especially it's been informative, not only about Lee's career, but about the acting process, the directing process. And we are so thrilled to be able to include this as a component of this year's RiverRun International Film Festival. And Lee, at this time, it gives me great pleasure on behalf of everyone at the RiverRun International Film Festival to present you with our 2021 Master of Cinema Award. I can't think of anyone more deserving.
I thank you. I am holding up my RiverRun Award. I can see you through this one. I can see you through that one. And it's beautiful. And I shall wear it proudly. And I am so grateful for this honor, and grateful to be interviewed by Foster Davis, who is fascinating in himself. And I thank you, Rob. You're a real dear guy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.